stage of the blacking process in more detail and shows you how to achieve the best results. During this section, you will see a row of small tanks appear at the top of the screen to remind you of where we are in the process. Surface preparation, that's degreasing and conditioning, is the most important stage of all. A metal surface which is completely clean will always turn a uniform black, guaranteed. But a surface which is even slightly oily will end up with a patchy black finish. A small Blackfast system will have a room temperature degreaser, which takes between 10 and 20 minutes to clean a lightly oiled, machined component. It's important to check that the surface is completely free of any oil. Wash it thoroughly in water and examine it carefully. Oil on the surface will repel the water, but if you can see a completely unbroken film of water, the surface is now clean. Room temperature degreasers don't work well if the temperature of the solution drops below 15 degrees Celsius. If that happens, a low wattage Blackfast heating mat under the tank will gently warm the solution to a good operating temperature of between 16 and 25 degrees Celsius. Keep the degreasing solution clean and up to strength. Skim off any oily scum and top up regularly with fresh degreaser. After degreasing, rinse the component thoroughly in a rinse tank of running water. It's now ready for conditioning. There are two reasons why it's important to condition mild or free-cutting steel. Firstly, the conditioner removes any microscopic contaminants, activates the surface, and prepares it to receive the blacking solution. Secondly, the conditioner lays down a thin phosphate which helps to disguise blemishes in the metal surface. During the conditioning stage, the component changes colour to a dull grey. This usually takes 1 minute. Don't leave the component in for longer than this, or it will affect the subsequent blacking process. Keep the conditioner clean and top up regularly with fresh conditioning solution. Again, rinse the component thoroughly in running water before going on to the blacking stage. A well-prepared metal surface will turn black evenly in around 30 to 60 seconds, although hard steels take a little longer. If your components take much longer than this to black, there are 3 things to check for. First, is the solution up to strength? As components black, they use up the active ingredients in the solution, and so it gets weaker. To keep it working well, test the blacking solution at regular intervals and don't let it drop below 70% of full strength. It's a quick and simple job to test the solution, and clients are supplied with full instructions. Second, has the component been properly cleaned? Experienced operators always take components out of the blacking solution after 10 seconds and inspect them for evidence of poor cleaning. At this stage, any component that's patchy and obviously not properly cleaned can easily be removed and put straight back into the degreaser. Third, is the blacking solution above 15 degrees Celsius? If not, use a Blackfast low wattage heating mat under the tank to gently raise the temperature. After 45 to 60 seconds in the solution, the component is checked again. If it has reached about 90% of the desired depth of black, then remove it, as it will continue to darken during the next stage. Taking it out now uses the minimum amount of blacking solution. Leaving it in too long causes over-blacking, sometimes called smutting. A component which has been over-blacked will be covered in a layer of sooty smuts which continuously rub off onto your hands. It's important to avoid over-blacking because the smut acts like a sponge. It soaks up water and blacking chemical which even the best dewatering oil can't get rid of, and this leads to continuous problems and often rusting. Having taken the component out of the blacking solution, it's given a thorough rinse in fresh running water, after which it moves on to the oiling stage. After rinsing, the metal surface of the component is covered in water. Dewatering oil displaces that water and lets it drop to the bottom of the tank. A metal grill in the bottom of the tank keeps the component and the water apart. To enable the water to be drained off, the tank is either tilted or designed with a sloping bottom. In small blacking lines, a separate basket is kept for use only in the oil tank. If not, oily baskets will be reprocessed down the line, contaminating all the other chemicals. In a large system, it isn't practical to transfer components to a different basket, so the same basket is used for the oiling stage, but it must then be degreased thoroughly before being filled with the next load. Different components shed water at different rates. Smooth surfaces dewater relatively quickly. Porous cast iron takes longer. The important thing is that components are completely free of water, and there's no time limit. You can leave them in the oil for as long as you like. A basket full of small items will need to be agitated. Components with holes and complicated shapes will have to be turned over to drain any trapped water. As dewatering oil gets older, it works more slowly and eventually becomes saturated. Its life will be extended by regularly draining the water and topping up the oil. Tanks should have their lids replaced when they're not in use. This is especially important with a dewatering tank to prevent the lighter part of the oil from evaporating. The dewatering oil is the only thing which protects the blacked component from corrosion. The layer of oil forms an impermeable barrier, stopping oxygen from getting to the metal. Any small bubbles on the metal surface mean that water is still present. If the component is left like that, the anti-corrosion barrier will be imperfect, and when the water evaporates, the metal will begin to rust. Before removing components from the oil, check that all the bubbles have disappeared. As the components dry, the solvent in the dewatering oil evaporates, leaving the rest of the oil to be absorbed into the black surface, giving good handling properties and excellent protection from corrosion. To ensure the best possible result, the solvent in the dewatering oil must be allowed to evaporate, leaving the oil relatively dry. In a warm workshop, components can be handled safely within 1 hour, but the black will continue to harden over the following days and weeks.